Wyrd Realities explores the paranormal, preternatural, and supernatural worlds that surround us. Here we delve into those topics that challenge us to think outside the limitations of realism, where we test the boundaries of imagination and are forced to think outside the confines and restrictions of what is normal. We are the creators, the writers, the artists, and the insane. Welcome to our Wyrd Realities.
Happy Wyrd Wednesday, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Alan Gamboa is with us, but he has fallen off the screen. He'll be back in a moment. But this is Hadley. I'm here with Morgana, Rich, and Joe, and we've got a fun show for y'all tonight. We are going to be discussing the craziness of the CERN portals and all the weird stuff that has happened in the last couple of days since they rebooted CERN. So, for those of y'all who are not familiar with CERN, it stands for European Organization for Nuclear Research. I don't know how they came up with CERN. It's something to do with the French. But there you go. Anyway, Alan's been drinking. Yeah, he's I don't know what he's been drinking, but he didn't drink.
The CERN portal. I don't know too much about it. I do know from one of the interviews we did with Dean M. Cole, he has this multiverse series out, and that is very detailed information about the CERN system. You know, and the machine is so powerful that it has 15 miles of like cooling lines that are ready to spray whatever, you know, or I don't know if it's doing that or if it's just running through it like a radiator and cooling it. I don't know, but there's so much power in the Hadron Collider that it's just.
I bet Rich knows.
A little bit. Yeah, so.
I bet Rich Restucci knows. He's a scientist.
I'm a scientist, so I know everything, right? You guys know what a toroid is?
No.
It's a donut shape. It's how you make a fusion reactor. And what you do is you basically speed stuff through it, and you have something called an axial magnetic field, which is a field around this donut, and you can focus things, and you can start a fusion reactor. We haven't figured out how to do cold yet, so it's difficult. But the CERN thing is along the same lines. I'm not going to believe that they opened a portal to another dimension as has been advertised. I want to see that before I believe it. I think it's a little ridiculous. Although the data suggests that it is possible. So.
The data does suggest that it's possible, and that surprised me when that came out.
Yeah.
I thought everybody would shoot that out. Well, another dimension isn't only time travel. That's that gets into the whole alternate world, and
of course, yeah.
And if there's one, how many are there? You know.
Well, if theoretically, if you can time travel, then you would have to have another dimension because you'd have different timelines.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yes.
Yep.
I wish I had taken quantum physics, is all I've got to say. As an adult, things that I thought were useless when I was in college, but now I think, well, should have learned more.
Yeah.
Quantum physics.
Yeah, that was my third PhD, was quantum physics.
How many PhDs do you have?
I don't have a PhD. I'm just kidding. It was a joke.
No, is that
no
the kind
stolen
of stuff?
valor.
Is that the kind of stuff you work on, Rich, or are you more of a chemist?
No, man, I draw lines. That's what I do for a living.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You blow stuff up.
Funny.
You blow stuff up?
I'm a draftsman,
Not in a while.
estimator, so I draw lines too.
I integrate environmental samples to figure out fate and transport, where they are and how they do, and that kind of thing. And generally, the stuff that we're looking for is pretty nasty. It's polychlorinated biphenyls, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, that kind of thing. Pesticides, all kinds of pesticides. And recently, the stuff that we do is PFAS, perfluoroalkylated substances, but I don't really deal with that too much. That's sort of, well, it was an emerging contaminant, now it's an emerged contaminant. And there you go. That's my work. That's what I do.
Well, if I could give you some advice, you know, not meaning
please.
to tell you your job, but you know, I would use an HP lead and then a really good eraser and
just get rid of it.
And I
It's a
think
good
that
call.
will help you out.
I am going to run this up the chain and see if they buy it. Hi, Laura. And if that's the case, we're gonna make a really big goddamn eraser and just erase everything.
Yep.
I like
And
it.
every time you screw up, you can say,
Starting-
"Oh, I got a Joe."
Yeah. We're gonna start with Washington. We're just gonna erase that and
Oh, that
move
would be
on from
good.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential here. I'm liking what I'm hearing.
As long as you don't replace Washington with a Gilead,
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, that's something else. I don't think that's gonna happen either.
Yeah, no, I actually had
Oh, man.
one of my favorite aunts recently tell me that she deleted me on social media back several years ago, and I'm like, well, I didn't notice, so but and we do have political differences, but she had made some comment, and I'm like, look, I said, before you just
Hi, Jen.
assume, I said, you should probably ask. I said,
Hey,
because
Jen.
personally,
course.
I think we should get rid of all of them. I mean,
Yeah,
left,
absolutely.
right, center, just wipe them all out. Let's start over.
Term limits.
Yes, there you go. Beautiful. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
but like I said, that the whole Gilead thing, every time I think of destroying DC, I think about that. Like, okay, so it could be a little worse.
I think of
Not a lot.
Idiocracy. I think of
Yeah.
Idiocracy a lot.
Yes.
No,
yes.
no,
Right.
no.
I agree.
They're claiming they did open a portal to another dimension, which is a
Yes.
great foundation for a quick, standalone sci-fi novel
yeah.
or series.
But what does
But-
that mean?
Well,
Now, when you
but-
say we opened a portal to another dimension, what does that mean?
Well, and that's where I was going with that. What does that mean? And
what aren't you telling
why
us?
why are they telling us? I mean, we had aliens land here in the 50s, and they just released that information during
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
So why all of a sudden this happens one day and they're telling us the next? I don't know.
Well, Joe,
So-
I've got thoughts. I've got thoughts on this. You remember
Feel better,
how,
Laura.
like, in 2017, there was this big talk by one of one of these leaders talking about aliens are real. They've been in contact with us. They've talked to all these world leaders, and then 2 years later, we've got a space force. And then, a year after the Space Force starts, all these people start coming forward that are in the military with their stuff. But nobody's talking about Space Force anymore.
I think we should have a space force. I think we should
We're
be
just going,
monitoring the
Heather,
sky.
excuse me, I'm calling
know.
myself
No.
my name.
No, you're not. I mean, everyone assumes that the Space Force is for aliens now after the release from Roswell. So what a lot of people don't understand is that if you put some kind of spinning mirror on the moon or on some kind of, it would have to be probably a little further away from the moon. Because you put something out there, you could vaporize pretty much anything with just reflections from the sun. I mean, if you can focus it and put it down, then you're good to go. So I mean, they could be researching things like that. I mean, that's not my field. I could be a
Right.
little
Well,
far
no,
off on
and,
that.
and I
but
agree.
I think it's against
Satellite.
people.
I think it's necessary.
Oh, of
I mean,
course.
they
Yeah,
made
do
a
too, yeah.
mockery. They made a mockery of it, but I believe it's necessary. Now, they opened up this new telescope the other day,
Mhm.
or the other week, or the other month, or whatever, and I saw a picture of it that was taken of space the size of a dime, and this telescope is so powerful that the amount of galaxies and planets and solar systems in that dime-sized picture of space is intimidating. It's overwhelming. Granted, everything's 300 million years away, which is a number I really can't conceive of. But to look out there and say, "Oh, there's no other intelligent life out there," it's just
It's
ridiculous.
arrogance.
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
Yep.
To look out there and say, "Oh yeah, absolutely, there's tons of it," but it's going to take them 2, 3, 4 lifetimes to get here. That's believable,
Well, yeah, but that assumes that they're working with speeds that we understand.
Right?
If they're
True.
not, so
or maybe they can open a portal to another plane. And
Fold space. We'll just get right.
You're
to
absolutely right. Nothing is.
Hey, Tessie.
Hi, Tessie. Nothing is impossible. I totally agree, but it's there's so much out there. There's so much out there that.
And to get on topic for tonight, one of the things that, like I said, in 48 hours last week, we had a series of weird shit happen. Yeah. And when I say this, I mean it. I mean, it was like a Tom Cruise movie, Mission Impossible, times something Scott Baker would watch. We had the Georgia Guidestones blow up. We had the Japanese former prime minister assassinated.
Which I believe he was running again, wasn't he?
Was he?
I think so. I think I remember that.
We had the CERN start back up at the portal to hell, and we had Britain's prime minister step down, and then didn't something happen with the banks in Canada?
I haven't heard anything about the banks in Canada.
The banks in Canada, like, people can't get their money out of the bank. There's been problems.
Well, and we also have riots in the Netherlands right now. The farmers are rebelling against the country.
Lee Edwards is saying that the prime minister was on the campaign trail when he was killed. So yes, he was
that's running. That's what I thought. You're right. There have been a lot of crazy things.
Well, for people like us, that's what I was sitting there. For people who write, it's just like, you just gave me, I can do so much with this. So I'm curious what you think. Are we seeing more stuff happen, and do you think it's going to lead to more creative thoughts, or are people going to, what do you think? I mean, let's just talk. Go.
I think we're all doomed. I think in the end we all die. Sorry.
Spoiler, Joe. Spoiler.
It's life, buddy. You'll never get out alive.
That's right.
It's crazy. I mean, I was really impressed with what I saw in that telescope, because that kind of thing fascinates me. All the bad in the world, I'm getting to the point where I tuned it out. I'm just, I can't right those wrongs. They're so far out of my reach, and
Well, and I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer with where do you think the world's going? I mean more like creative thought. Do you think that, we can't make this stuff up, but can we improve upon it?
Do I think that all of that is related to the portal to hell being opened?
Do you? I'm curious.
No, I don't. I believe cosmically, and people look at me weird when I start talking this way, but I think cosmically there are different periods in history where things have come to a head, and whether that results in, say, another world war, or the end or beginning of a famine or something like that. But it's like, it's never one example that creates something, like that execution of that Ferdinand, they said was the start of what, World War I?
World War I, yeah. Well, it was.
Yeah, it was. But there were other things around that, that was just the first shot. And and that's what I'm thinking. I don't think one event like opening the portal to hell through CERN, which most people, you ask them what CERN is, and they're like,
the French.
That's right.
The French.
Yeah.
But I remember 20 some odd years ago, this really cool girl I knew talking about writing a book where this pandemic comes through and throws off the whole world, and it opens up other dimensions, and 20 years later, here we are.
Was her name Heather?
It was. Well, yeah.
Damn y'all.
It was? Is she still with us? Oh, no.
Well, and that brings up another question, is when we go to the fact that there are no original ideas, there's only different perspectives of people telling the same story over and over again. But have you noticed that, I think there's like this collective out there, and people who are creative tap into it, and that's when you'll start seeing movies like The Matrix The Matrix came out around the same time that the Lord of the Rings movies came out, and it's a very similar story if you take out the story and you just look at the highlights. But are people tapping into the same as Joe's word, cosmic file? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I guess there's something to be said for collective consciousness. I like to think that I'm the only one in my head, but I don't know if I've ever been in someone else's head. And if you've got a collective consciousness, I mean, that's the very definition of it. I think that there's, I mean, humans themselves have been around for, I don't know, a few dozen thousand years. So really, at what point do we stop running out of ideas? Was that, 1,000 years ago, or is it 1,000 years from now? There's something also to be said for, everything is based on the same theme, and we only pull from that theme. But I don't know that that's true. I mean, I know there's at least 2 zombie writers here right now. I didn't invent it. Joe didn't invent it, but we've pulled our own worlds from it. Yeah, damn right, Joe. We pulled our own world from it. So, hey, Mike.
Well, I don't think there's people in your head, Rich. I think that when we sleep...
there for sure. Yeah.
We don't talk about that out loud, Rich.
Anytime, have you ever been sitting there people watching, and you'll see someone walking along, you've never met them, but you can pretty much watch them step by step for 10, 15 feet and know that they're going to stop and pick up that paper or throw something in the trash, and you can just really predict their motions till they're out of your view. And I think in a way you're in someone's head there, I mean, we all have a brain. We're all connected in some way, shape, or form. But, I mean, so the fact that the world will come together in, like the Arab Spring, some people disagree with it and some people don't. But it all kind of came together and had there. And it was all triggered by, some people say, Obama getting elected in office. I don't know. But it happened in a lot of places at the same time. So, and things like that happen, as much as we want to be individuals, we're all connected in some way, shape, or form.
Cosmic dust.
Cosmic dust.
Cosmic dust. That's how everything started, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think they added a little water.
Yeah.
Shook it up. We're all
made mud.
We're all just we're those sea things you buy in the back of comic books. What are those called?
Yeah, sea monkeys.
There's a lot to unpack in this comment.
Yeah.
We're all sea monkeys who grew legs,
You see Audrey Blood's comment right there?
There's a lot to unpack. I think the aliens are here. What do y'all think?
I don't know.
I think that it's like when you go through a bad neighborhood and you roll up your windows and lock your doors. I think that's what they do when they go past this planet. I mean,
well, I think humanity is clearly not ready to take whatever next step we need. I mean, for Christ's sake, we can't even agree on gender in the country. Seriously, we can't.
I think they would see a lot of toxic personalities here on the planet, and think, it's just, it'd be pretty crazy.
Racism. How ridiculous is racism?
I think good or evil is. I think that an alien's definition of good and evil is probably vastly different than the majority of the people here. So that's a relative. It's really just dependent upon what they think.
Of course.
So are they
good and evil might not play into it either.
Yeah.
For an alien race.
Are they here now? I don't know, but I do feel they've been here. Obviously, they say they've found bodies, didn't they, of aliens?
Yeah. Well, part of another theory is that anything that we would consider aliens was in fact from another dimension. They weren't from space, they were from here, but just another dimension. whatever. I mean, it is what it is, I suppose. But I'm having a hard time buying the other dimension thing.
I've wondered if what we have thought of as aliens are actually our people from the future that are time traveling.
I mean, that's same thing.
Well, if you think about it, our heads are getting bigger.
Yeah.
People are obsessed with being, super, super, super skinny. So, and we're going towards being a genderless species. So
I guess so.
I don't know. Again, y'all have to. My imagination.
There will be those factions. There will be those
but I'm saying,
factions
if
that
that is the alien you ran into in his little spacesuit with his big head, and it's just what we've evolved into. Because what was it? I want to say Elon Musk had said something about within a couple of years we're no longer going to be using our mouths. We're going to be using some type of device that translates our brain waves. So our mouths will be getting smaller, our eyes will be getting bigger.
It won't matter because according to AOC, we'll be dead in 12 years. So,
cow farts.
Cow farts.
Landa.
Damn cow farts. I think we got to eat them.
Yeah, I agree. I helped tonight, actually. So, little McCormick seasoning on the grill. Yeah, I helped eliminate the cow farts.
Yep, good for you. You did your part. You could drive a gas vehicle for 2 days.
Yeah, right. Eat a steak tip and I get 100 miles.
Yeah, steak tip is 100 miles of drive time.
Well, I want to know what pork gets you because, I didn't have beef tonight.
Well, pork will get you trichinosis.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm thawing a pork loin right now.
Yeah.
I don't even, is trichinosis even a disease anymore? I don't think anybody gets it anymore.
I mean,
as you say it, we're going to hear about somebody getting it.
Right. It'll be an outbreak next week.
My wife says you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you can still get it.
It was something that was, we're having worked in a lot of restaurants. We used to save our extra food and send it out to the pig barns. And we thought they were just taking these vats of rotted food and dumping them in the trough. And, the guy told us that's what caused trichinosis, was feeding them rotten food. Because a pig will eat it whether it's rotten or not. So they take it and they actually cook it and keep it at like 180 degrees for a day and a half before and cook it down into a meal.
But
and then,
I got questions. What about the body parts? What about, didn't y'all see, read, was it Thomas Harris's Hannibal, where he fed the pigs, the people?
Well, there was that, and then there was the Thunderdome. The Thunderdome.
Yeah, the show Deadwood as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, Woo.
Didn't they get those body parts while they were fresh, though? I mean, fresh meat has a higher vitamin C content.
Mike
so
Lewis,
good for them.
Is trichinosis just a parasite?
I thought
Isn't it just a parasite you get from undercooked meat?
Yeah, I think so.
Mike Lewis
is saying we need to go green.
I've always been told it was from old pigs back in the day when they didn't give them clean feed.
I think you can get it from any type of meat that you don't cook right. I'll have to look it up. It's almost like salmonella. I know salmonella is a bacteria, and I thought trichinosis was some kind of parasite that you got.
Where is Tony?
I thought it came only from pork, but I've been wrong before. I'll try. I'll do.
I'm googling this right now.
I'll find out when that was.
Everybody's got their phone. Trichinosis.
It is a microscopic parasite.
Oh, and Big Brother's listening because it pulled right up on my phone.
Raw or undercooked meat from animals infected with the parasite. Often these infected meats come from wild game such as bear or pork products.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
Hey,
which is
I'm
why we
educated
cook
now.
pork well done.
Well, I eat pork pink. Always have.
Yeah.
I do a
Medium rare.
little bit. No. It's got to be done, but it doesn't have to be dry anymore like it used to be. So,
If you
yeah.
came to a crossroad and there was a Bigfoot on one side and a UFO with its door open on the other, what way would you go?
In
You
reverse.
grab Bigfoot and you go in the UFO. You hang out with Bigfoot on a UFO. Who has done that?
You
I win.
know, I'm a busy guy, so I'd probably just keep walking down the road because I got to get somewhere.
No.
You know,
I'm
I don't
grabbing
walk very
Bigfoot.
fast anymore, so
Me and
I'd be
Sasquatch.
like, yeah, we know about.
Yeah,
your
I've
intimate
never heard of
moments.
Sasquatch
Intimate
any kind of
moments with
probes
the
or
Yeti.
anything. So
I got to call Logan Kraft, though. I got to get him with me if
Yeah.
I'm grabbing Bigfoot and getting on the UFO.
I would like to find out when he's on one of those hunts where he goes, because I'd love to put a Bigfoot costume on and come into his camp.
He would shoot you, Joe.
Yeah,
He would
you'd
shoot
be
you.
so full of holes, Joe.
He is Arkansas's most wanted for a reason. That's how people get killed in the South. Logan's from Texas. He doesn't play.
Yeah.
And hey, don't ever show up at Cecil from wearing the folks' house without announcing either, because it's the same problem. Yeah. So
He's a character.
Cold fusion and sirloin.
I like Miranda's comment. I'm not going with Bigfoot.
I have not seen Primal Rage.
Wait,
I think I probably have, but
was Primal Rage the one with the Bigfoots the Sasquatches with the bows? I don't
They had
remember. I
bows?
saw something like I saw some movie where these Sasquatches were just killing people with bows.
Tony's
like
not
that,
equipped with
Tony.
a Slim Jim, so he's going on the road with the UFO.
Because I was fixing to say my biggest, interaction with Bigfoot would have to be Slim Jim commercials. So
Yeah, you guys can go ahead with the UFO and fly away, and I'll just stay down here on this disc we call Earth and try not to fall off the edge.
Spinning quarter, we call
And
it.
I'm sorry, if I saw a Bigfoot, I'm probably gonna keep going.
I don't know. I kind of want to hang out and have a couple of beers with Bigfoot. I must admit. I also want to have a couple of beers with the aliens, so I'm really torn. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
Like I said, you got to grab Bigfoot and a 12-pack and head right on the.
Well, a lot of people think that Bigfoot's with the aliens, so it really just depends on what camp you're with.
Then I win twice, double.
Yeah.
I would probably tell the aliens to wait, because that way you could tell Bigfoot when he tries to eat you, could just say, "Hey, wait a minute, I got an appointment here. I'm just here to say hey," and then I got to get to my other appointment. Bigfoot should be understanding about something like that, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Bigfoot might be vegan. I think he's the kind of guy that really enjoys the lettuce.
You're so wrong.
She just had a dish of
I
ice
listen
cream.
to Sasquatch Chronicles every Sunday night.
Yeah.
And those are some good stories if y'all ever want to listen to something just a little bit different. And yes, Bigfoot, he likes to eat canines. So me and Big Bradley will not be stopping for Bigfoot.
love it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, go ahead.
we totally went down that rabbit hole.
Oh, no, we did.
But what you were asking earlier about whether or not the events give people a start for creative outlets or whatever. I think in a lot of cases it can, but I think a lot of it too is going to be whatever kind of genre that you're more interested in. Because, the thing with Abe, that's going to be, to me, a total, government conspiracy type thing. Or, like a Harrison Ford, Ryan. What was that set of books?
Jake Ryan?
Yes.
Jack
Ryan.
Jack Ryan.
Yeah, that would be perfect for somebody who writes in that particular genre, to start
Well,
with.
there's a lot that you can find from the news. I mean, I think of Margaret Atwood a lot lately. With The Handmaid's Tale, and that's just very disturbing. But I can see totally.
Are you watching it, or have you read it?
I read it years ago, and I've watched the series.
Because the series doesn't sound like the actual story.
No, it's I think much better, but
Yeah,
You think the series is better?
yeah,
it's a lot more modernized and fitting in with today's events and everything. Yeah,
but
the original was great for the time.
Yeah, I read it in the 80s, and I think she wrote it in the late 60s or 70s, didn't she?
Yeah.
No, it was like 82 when she wrote it.
It's 80s. I'm from Minnesota, so she is constantly on NPR here in Minnesota. So, and
I bet she's got a lot to say.
It was a great story. I loved it.
But there is a lot of dystopian. If someone wanted to write a dystopian book right now, there's so much fodder for that. Just pick a day.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and that's dystopian can go in so many directions too.
Mm-hmm.
Like a Clockwork Orange would have been a dystopian.
Yeah.
So there's. I kind of like the dystopian that doesn't really focus on the horror aspect and more focuses on the
Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah.
So we had a cure for any dystopia, but some asshole just blew it up. So who do you guys think blew up this Guidestones? Who blew it up? Joe, where were you?
I was at work, like always.
Uh-huh.
And I'm crippled and walking with a cane nowadays, so I couldn't run fast enough to get away from the explosion. I don't know, and I don't know why they would blow it up because it's really just somebody's opinion.
Yeah,
it's been there forever, and it was such a neat mystery.
And as far as the survival of the human race, I think the way that is laid out is a simple math calculation by the amount of square feet of Earth we have versus how much humans consume and what we need to do to survive. So it's just somebody's math problem, and people took it out of line, and I bet it's some Christian group because those damn Christians, you can't trust you guys.
Yeah.
They were talking. Well, they were talking about it being satanic. And I've read what was on it, and it didn't seem satanic to me.
No, it didn't seem satanic to no.
Well, I know.
I read what was on it. I didn't think it was evil.
No, but there was actually a candidate running in Georgia that was one of her biggest things on her agenda if she got elected was getting rid of the Guidestones. It's like, why?
Why? What was the rationale behind that, Morgan?
For her, it was that it was satanic. And then
where was she last weekend?
Yeah, right. I know.
That's this whole restriction of free speech that we're going through right now. It's like, when did we all of a sudden become afraid of words and other people's opinions? If you don't have the wherewithal to form your own opinion about every issue out there, they're trying to stifle free speech everywhere, and that's all those stones was an example of free speech.
Yep.
Yep.
So I have a problem with that. I had a problem with them destroying all the statues.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah,
sure, they could move them, but to just destroy them because you don't like them or don't approve of them, that's somebody else's history you're destroying.
Well, they don't like the history, and honestly, I understand it.
A lot of
get
history
why.
I don't like.
Well, of course, I understand why they did it, but knowing why they did it and thinking that it's okay are two totally different things. I am not.
I understand the propaganda of the statues. I get. I'm a student of history. I live in the South. I understand all of it. But when you start erasing history, is when you're destined to repeat it.
Of course.
And that's what's really scary.
I agree.
Right. Well, I know, because we've had the flag debate down here forever, and we actually have the Jefferson Davis home down here. And it's a museum. It's been a museum for years. And the guy that was running it at the time, and he goes, well, I'm never taking down my Confederate flag. And I'm like, why would you? You're a museum that's based on Confederate history. It would have nothing to do with you doing that.
Of all places that it's safe to fly.
Right, exactly. So that was my thing, okay, so move them there or move them to the cemetery up in Vicksburg, because they've got that big battleground cemetery and everything up there. Because so there are places you could put things without destroying them.
Right.
You
And
know,
I
here
want to
in
say this,
Minnesota, go ahead.
that for a flag to represent all the people in a state, it needs to be something that all people feel proud of.
Mhm.
And that the flag that we had was not. It did not. There were people who looked at it and they felt terror because of something that happened to them, as a child, and that was why it needed to change. But again, don't erase history.
Right.
We're not trying
That was
to
that
forget
was
where
that
we've
was a
been.
Virginia. That was a Virginia battle flag, actually, not Mississippi.
Mhm.
But in Minnesota, we have a bunch of lakes that were named after like gangsters, like Calhoun, and a tower that was named Poche, and they got the great idea to go around and rename these lakes after Native Americans. Let them rename the lakes, and so instead of coming up on Lake Calhoun, where everybody went to the beach at Calhoun and played volleyball at Calhoun, now they play volleyball at Oganeshinishi, and I can't even remember the rest of it. Well, that lasted about 2 years, and everybody realized that people are going to call it Calhoun. It's just the word. The word was too hard, so they changed it back. And it's like, okay, everybody's pushing you to accept absolutely everything the way it should be in an idealistic world. Well, we don't live in an idealistic world. Things happen in a certain way to get us to the point we're at. And I understand you don't like them, but I had nothing to do with it. Just, let it be. Move on in your life. Don't you have to go to work? Sorry, I get a little
right.
I get a little narrow-minded about things like this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I understand it because right now it's really cool to go against anything that is American ethnocentrism, and I just disagree. I think certain things should be left alone. I get why the Confederate flag. I absolutely understand that it represents a period in history that was not good for a large amount of the population. If there was a split there, and honestly, it was a good split. It was a split that needed to happen. We had a war. It sucked. I mean, it is what it is. But the things that came out of the war were good. That said, I think things like the Confederate flag and the statues we were referring to before are history. And as Hadley said, when you screw with history, you are doomed to repeat it. And erasing things that people should know about is a bad plan. I mean, if there's a statue of Hitler, you don't tear it down. You say that is a statue of the biggest asshole of our time. And you tell your kid that's standing with you, tell him why there's a statue there and what this man did to a million people or 6 million people. And to me, destroying that and taking Hitler's name out of the equation is just a bad idea. And that doesn't make me a Nazi. I think the Nazis are evil. They always were. But we should know what they did.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I'm sorry, it flew right away. I saw it. It was listening to Rich talk and trying to be respectful and not talk. And
Well,
now,
I agree with you, Hadley. Whatever it was you were going to say, I
well,
totally
thank you.
agree.
Yeah, for sure.
It
You're
was a good
absolutely
point.
right.
Oh, I know what it was. It came back. Circle right back. Do you remember it was like, I guess probably about 20 years ago now, when the Taliban was destroying all the I think it was like Sumerian statues
Yeah,
and
of
stuff
course.
in Iraq and Afghanistan and
The relics, what a
Iran.
tragedy. What a
Yeah.
tragedy.
And the same people who were up in arms about that 20 years ago now are
Ripping stuff down.
yeah, and that's what causes me concern is we see other people do it and we'll cast the first stone, but oh, but wait, 10 years later, this is more popular and I'm going to get more votes for this. But
Yeah, you can't base anything on what politicians say during campaign time. That's,
or any other time.
That's like the old joke of the guy who, he goes to hell and he goes down there and there's, you know, women in bikinis and they're all looking at him and smiling and laughing and he goes and plays a round of golf and it's the best round of golf he's ever had and then he had his Jody gave me those to do it. Sorry. But then he has the best steak he ever has and meets up with a girl that he takes back and everything is wonderful and
Health sounded pretty good.
The next day he goes up to heaven and everybody's sitting around kind of peaceful. He's wondering if everybody's smoking dope because they're not doing anything. They're just kind of hanging
Who's
out.
smoking
So anyways, he just says, so when he died the next day, the third day he dies, and he says, well, he goes, I'm going to go with choice A. And they said, fair enough. So they send him to hell. And he's thinking, this was great. All those women, all that booze, this is going to be awesome. And he gets down to this fiery pit and they beat him and throw him in chains and throw him in the slave lines and make him do all this work. And he says, well, this isn't what you guys told me it was. And he says, well, we were campaigning.
There you go.
There's no truer joke than that because they don't even know what they're promising.
Well, I want to address this important question from our
becoming
chat.
president for the first time makes all these promises, and he doesn't even understand the type of power he has and whether he can even adhere to those promises.
So Audrey Blood has asked, who do you think is smarter, humans, dogs, or cats? The obvious answer, of course, is cats.
Mm-hmm.
We clean their poop. We feed them. They tolerate us. So.
Yes, I agree.
Of course, we could not feed them and lock them in a cage and they'd be dead. So there's something to say about that.
Not a cat person, I take it.
Oh no, I love cats. I love cats. I love dogs. I love all animals. But I'm just saying, I don't know. I think people are smarter. I do. We have larger brains. Now, if you want to talk about more manipulative, then I would have to go with a cat, depending on who you look at, because there's some people in Washington that are pretty manipulative. Full circle. Yeah. So, I don't know. I tend to think people are the smartest.
I'm battling cats and have been for the last few years.
Yeah, I've had cats.
We've had cats. We don't have them anymore. And my wife was attacked by a feral cat.
That's terrible.
And had to have surgery on her wrist for an abscess. And doctor bill totaled over $40,000. We have to watch our bird feeders out here because we have feral cats coming in trying to feed off them. So
your dog need to get a raise.
Cats survive because I'm not allowed to shoot them in town. I like cats. I'd never have them again. But stay out of my yard. Get off my lawn.
Cats are like roommates. Dogs
I'm
are
looking
like.
for my cat. Won't see her.
Hey, I'm currently sleeping with a cat, 2 kittens, and 2 beagles every night. So,
I'm currently catless, but I'm a firm believer that when the right cat will find me. Yeah. So.
Well, and I'm kidding about shooting them. The most I do is use a little marble and a slingshot to scare them away. But we have too many feral cats, and we have too many people in the neighborhood feeding them. And all that does is attract more.
Those are the people you need to get rid of.
Yeah.
Yes.
We even had one guy that went out and live trapped. Well, I suppose he did 12 of them and brought them in and had them fixed. And then brought them back and let them loose. I said, geez, you had them out of here.
But that's the thing. My husband and I have done the same thing. We've taken in feral ones and gotten them fixed and brought them back because, I'll feed them. I just don't want them propagating. And then somebody inevitably in the neighborhood is going to end up buying one and not getting it fixed. And, a year later, here are all these cats again.
Yeah.
And it's insane. It should be like at birth, you should have to be required to have them fixed,
Yeah.
Well, responsible pet ownership is important.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But
speaking of, somebody's got to go get fixed in the next week or two.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm having a hell of a time with my new dog,
I'm
Freya.
too old. That wouldn't do any good.
How is Freya?
She's good, but around here to get her fixed is like $800. Man,
Oh wow!
I don't have $800 to throw away. There's something called a spay wagon, which they drive to certain towns. I have no idea.
Do you have a veterinary college?
What's that?
A veterinary college?
Yeah, there's Tufts, a pretty good one in Boston, but I'm 40 miles away from there.
40 miles, $800.
Yeah. Well,
then again, it might cost that to drive to Boston.
Right. Exactly. So, there's something called the spay wagon. Like I said, they drive to different towns, and they'll do it for between $250 and $300. But you got to just get lucky, and it's when they're here, and they're booked out through August. So she's gonna have to wait a month because I ain't paying $800.
Yeah. We have a new place down here. They've only been open about a year, and the whole purpose of them opening was to try to knock down some of the feral animal population, and they will actually spay and neuter for $45 for pets and for $35 for strays. And on the strays, they also go ahead and give them their rabies, and they tip their ear and everything, so if somebody does find them, they know that they're fixed. So I actually just got rid of the 2 kittens today, and I told her, look, I've already put the down payment and I've got the appointment made. I will pay for them as long as you get them fixed, and everything. Because like I said, for $45, you just about can't beat that.
Yeah,
that's... Can't touch it. Yeah.
No, exactly.
But we have a very bad unneutered, unspayed population in Mississippi, because
yes,
I don't know if y'all know this, but a lot of our strays are shipped north because y'all don't have the problem.
I got one.
I got one.
My dog is a Texas dog.
My dog Delta is a Kentucky dog.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes, they definitely have a problem with it down here, and like I said, people too. People should be fixed after a certain amount of time. But like I said, I mean, if it's, gets a good home for them, I'll finish paying for it, because like I said, I just don't want them, just throwing them out in their yard and, hey.
Yeah, nobody wants to see an animal treated cruelly.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, I felt terrible the day I had to shoot the cat that attacked Jill, but I had to.
Did it have rabies, or was just?
Well, we had to send it in. You got to send in the brain.
Yeah.
I've watched a video. I think I probably shared it with y'all about the guy that was swimming and the rabid beaver attacked him. It's not funny, but it was terrible, because he was like, it's just that beaver's just acting weird. It jumped on his back. Not funny. But
not if it's rabid.
Well, he was saying it wasn't, but somebody told him, you need to shoot that beaver, and it was rabid.
Yeah.
But
so you remember our friend Ray, it's been probably 10, 12 years ago now, found a bat in her yard, and it had been injured. So she collects it and, cleans it up and takes it to the vet. And the vet's like, okay, that was great of you, but okay, we're either going to have to kill the bat to find out if it has rabies, or you're going to have to go through the shots in case it does have rabies. And,
Did it bite her?
No, well,
no, but she touched it.
It was bloody. It had blood from the injury, and she didn't know for sure if it had touched her or not. So
side note, boys and girls, don't pick up bloody bats.
Right.
Yeah.
And she ended up going through the shots, and I didn't realize, because I know when I was a kid growing up, that was always a big thing. You don't want to get rabies because you have to get 21 shots in the stomach and, all this craziness. And I think she ended up having to get 3 or 4 shots over the course of a couple of weeks.
I got a rabies series, and it was 3 shots, and they were in my hip. And this was a good. So it was my sophomore year of college. So it was a long goddamn time ago. I got scratched by a raccoon, and we couldn't catch the raccoon. So
what were you doing with the trash panda, Rich?
So I had an old Buick Regal, and I was commuting to college, and I was poor, and so the trunk wouldn't close, and I wired it closed with a coat hanger. And I'm driving to work one day, and I stop at a stop sign, and the trunk opens. I'm like, oh, all right. I get out, go shut the trunk, and there's a raccoon in the trunk, and he runs out, and he scratches me on the hand. It was a good scratch, too. And I was like, well, so I went to the doctor. I was thinking, well, rabies, nah. And the doctor said, you need shots. And I had to go to another doctor, and they gave me shots. They were in my hip, not in my stomach.
Well, you should not have opened the door to his whole house.
His house was in my car. Little bastard needs to pay rent.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Hey guys, I gotta sign off here. I got.
All right. Well, before you go, Joe, what you got going on with lowballing?
It's kind of on hiatus for at least another few weeks. I'm building a shop in my backyard, and that's taking precedent. And plus, my sister's up from Naples, so. Okay. About 3 weeks, I'll set something up and get that going again.
All right. Well, we will see you next week. Have a good one.
All right. Good night, Joe.
Just see you, buddy.
See ya.
Rich, you want to tell everybody what's going on with Watching Wyrd tomorrow night?
Yeah. So tomorrow night we have Evil Children. Tomorrow night's Watching Wyrd's going to take place. It starts at 10 Eastern. And we have Orphan, which was 2009, maybe 2000. I can't remember. Orphan, Brightburn, which is sort of an evil Superman type of thing, and he's a kid. We have The Omen, which everybody knows what The Omen is, and then we have if you don't know what The Omen is, he's sort of the son of Satan. He's the Antichrist. And then we have Children of the Corn, which is an old Stephen King story that came out in the 80s, maybe.
Yes.
Was it the 80s?
Yep.
So that should be interesting. Join us tomorrow. Should be fun.
Start live stream at 10 Eastern. So be sure to join us. Morgana, are you going to tell us about what's happening with Wyrd Awakenings?
Yes. We're back on this week after a little break. We are doing our second part of Lost Civilizations. Before it was on Atlantis. This time we're doing it on Lemuria and Mu. And that's this Friday at 8 Eastern.
And that is with our partners in crime from We're in the Folk podcast, Tully and Cecil. And we also have the wonderful and amazing cryptid researcher, Stephen Hill, who joins us on the regular. So y'all be sure and tune in for that too. That's on Friday night at 8 Eastern.
Yes, 8 Eastern. That is correct.
That's a great show.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Like it.
A lot of fun.
I've been on there a couple of times, and I had a lot of fun. You guys are awesome.
Yep.
You're
always welcome. Absolutely.
And we've got our Weird Mysteries, Murder, and Mayhem. We've kind of been offline for a little bit. We're going to be getting some episodes together and dropping those sometime soon. So be on the lookout for that. And before we go, I've got an update from our friends and partners over at Horror Writers Inc. You don't want to miss the Horror Writers Inc. Facebook community where all the weird kids are. You can see Joe Hansen, Alan Gamboa, Scott, Rich, and myself were featured writers there alongside great names like Sean Chesser, Jonathan Mayberry, Jay Bauer, Jamie Hernandez, Stephen Kinney, J.B. Haven, Sylvester Barzy, Bethany Stutzman, Stephen Landry, Stephen Van Patten, Theo Hodges, Brian Ray, and more. Our updates currently are D.A. Roberts has just dropped book 5 in the Apex Predator series, so be on the lookout for that new release. DW Hits, his Fedowar Press has recently released an anthology of 80s slashers that's getting prepared. There's 20 amazing authors participating in that. And S.M. Little has recently released Gold Blood, and that is book 4 in the Changed series. So be on the lookout for that. And in case I forgot to mention, Mike Evans' Zombie on the Block series is on special this month throughout the month of July. He is putting one book in the series, there are 4, up for 99 cents with the corresponding week. So be sure to check out Mike's special. And I've got special news for y'all. This weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you can get my book, Tapestry of Worlds, The White Raven Awakens, for free. It will be, the ebook is free. I'm doing a special. So other than that, that's all with the Horror Writers Inc. Y'all got anything you want to add?
No, thanks for being here.
I will say that I haven't read Mike Evans' new series, but I did read his Orphan series. It was I think it was the second zombie series that I had read, and it was outstanding. It was fantastic.
That's good to know. I haven't read any of Mike's books.
Oh, he's got some skills. He's great.
Cool.
Awesome.
I'm pawing through Joe Hanson's stuff right now. It's pretty good. And you're up next, Hadley. I have both of your books sitting upstairs on my nightstand. I look at them every night. And I would like to pimp. There's another guy named David Muga, maybe. He's got fantastic guy. He's got a series called The Radius, and book 3 just came out. He sent it to me. I had no idea it was coming. I just went out and I was like, "What's this?" And I opened it. It was him. It was a signed book from David. He's a great guy, and that kind of pertains to what we were talking about earlier. I won't wreck it for anybody, but it's a blue hole instead of a black hole. And what happens is the people that get caught inside this blue hole, time stops for them. But like 3,000 years passes for everyone else, or 17. I can't remember how much time, but everything's gone. So on outside of this radius, it's really great story. Genius idea.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's a great guy too. And
Rich, you need to hook us up with some people to come on and like join our Weird Awakenings conversations sometimes.
I will talk with David. You know who else is pretty fantastic is Sean Chesser. Great mind on the guy. I've talked to him a few times. He's a great guy.
He's
David
very
Simpson,
nice.
Nice guy. Yeah, they're all good guys.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Jamie Hernandez wrote herself a hell of a series. It's good stuff.
Yeah, we know Jamie. She's part of our extended family here.
Yep. Look, I will never get through all the books I currently have either downloaded or bookmarked for reading and listening.
I want to get a hard physical copy of everybody's book that's on Wyrd Realities, so I can have a little treasure trove all myself and say these are my people and have them all, and then I look at how many books Scott Baker has written, and I'm like, the man's gonna break my bank.
I know.
He's got so many books.
That's what I do. I don't really buy Kindle stuff anymore. I just get hardcovers. I have every book I mentioned they're all paper copies.
See, I do both. I download them to Kindle or Audible to read or listen, and then I buy it to put on my bookshelf. So when the grid goes down, I will always have reading material.
I've got my Foxfire books in hardback. I'm prepared. Yes. All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it for this week's Weird Wednesday. We will be back same time, same place next week. We hope Mr. Restucci will join us because it is always a pleasure to see his face more than once a week.
Do my very best.
Yes, it is.
And that's going to do it. Again, we'll see you tomorrow night for Watching Wyrd, and be sure to check out those movies so you can chat with us about them. And that's it. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a good night.
Bye,
Thanks
everybody.
for coming.